Thaddeus just dropped a nice bomb we're going to talk about today. And I think this is relevant, prevalent, and important to talk about because this community is full of people with tons of wisdom, tons of experience, and channels, and people who are bringing a whole lot of good stuff to the planet. And I'm just gonna let you talk about it because the way you just did was, I'm still kind of recovering from this, but it's real. It's real.
So we're talking about how you can't hear me because you're a woman? Or
I
well, no,
you
I can't hear
you
you
can't
because
hear me because I'm a woman.
yeah, you can't. Yeah, it sort of sounded better if you had said it because I said it. I was like, no, that's that. Yeah, you can't hear me because you're a woman. Yeah, that's not what we're saying.
No,
It's
no,
the exact opposite of that.
this is a
Can't
this is
hear you. Yeah.
this is a very interesting awareness because there's so many humans, man, woman, gender, whatever gender you are, whatever your body is, there's so many humans that are bringing channeled messages to Earth, to people to share. So, you use the word prophet. Prophet, what is the definition of a prophet? Would you
Ooh.
like to just define prophet? It's
For
not,
for me, a prophet is someone who's prophesizing, um, telling us what is and what shall be.
Mhm.
And the conversation that we were having was basically how I know personally so many women that are channeling Yeshua, Jesus, however you want to call it, and all these other powerful spiritual beings.
Mhm.
And because they're a woman, they're not part of the church, or they're not part of the established congregation, which led to us talking about priest versus nun. Because if you're coming from like a religious perspective, there's priests and there's nuns,
Yeah,
and
I grew up Catholic, so it's relevant to me. And yeah, the priest and then
the
the women
nuns.
in is called, the women in the church are nuns.
Man, just let that sink in. None, nuns.
Yeah, they spell it N-U-N, but None. So it's all this subtlety that's not subtle, I think, is what's really present for me is as much as we want to say that things are more equal and things are shifting, and in a lot of ways they are. I mean, just to be able to do anything, like we do have a lot more ability to share our voices and our prophets, our prophecies, our wisdom, our messages, whatever we're channeling or talking about. But there's still this undercurrent of the women not having the same respect, or it's hard to even find the right word for it because I don't even know if it's respect. There's a lot of women who are respected prophecy sharing channels, they're doing that. They're channeling Christ consciousness and divinity and all of this good stuff.
So
So,
so for me it's more, and I'm going to keep using the priest nun because it just resonates with me on so many different levels.
yeah,
But it's like if a child growing up, especially when we were growing up, said they wanted to be a priest, everyone would think of him as this spiritual being who's on this great spiritual path,
mhm,
and he's a man of God and he's powerful.
right.
A woman said she wanted to be a priestess. I honestly could say I wouldn't know what she's talking about because I don't know what a priestess is. And then the more I learned in the path, for a long time, I would connotate a priestess with a witch or a goddess,
Right.
all of which don't exist. They're not human. So it's like they're a supernatural being, not a spiritual being. Where with a priest, it's like, oh, that's a man of God, a man of God. Where
Mhm.
a priestess, goddess, witch, they don't exist, and it goes even further in the sense that when you think of the like Winston the
Mhm.
witch trials, not human. Those
Right.
healers. Those were women. Those were
Right,
women of God, essentially, that were trying to prophesize. And
right.
then after it was all finished, rather than telling the truth that we just killed prophets, we just had Jesus on the cross. Instead, it's just, yeah, it was a witch trial, a witch trial. So it wasn't even human. So
Yeah.
that goes back to what we originally were talking about, the emasculation of the divine feminine, which is which is what which is what which is what that is. Like, Jesus was a man of God. He came here to save us.
Mhm.
He was crucified on the cross. So he's a man. Like he took a human form. And then we have these witch trials where they were burning them at the stake, which is a cross. So they were being burned, but it
Hmm.
wasn't women that were being burned, it was witches.
Right. It's like they dehumanize the prophet to make it okay.
Right. And because now it's not a story of these great, and what was the message that got them on the cross or on the stake? What
Yeah,
was the
what were they doing to get
yeah.
that? Yeah, to get that faith. They were truth tellers or prophet, telling prophecies.
And what was the truths that they were sharing? That's not in the story. In the story of Jesus, we know what he was sharing. We know what he was sharing. He was sharing a message of love. That's what got him burned, or that's what got him hung. He was
Yeah.
like, love one another. This is what I came here to share. And
Hmm.
then when the witch trials happened, I don't know. They were just saying that these women were crazy and insane. But was that the message that they were giving? Because that message still would be crazy and insane then if you had all these women going around. Let's just love one another.
Yeah.
Let's just be at peace with which is what women do. That's why wars, you get all this rape and pillage, and then somehow after the war everybody's able to reconcile. It's because the women learned how to love everybody. I was actually talking to someone who channels, and she was telling me how her son killed these people as a drunk driver.
Mm.
Um, and when they were in the trial, her family, when it came time to sentencing, her family, they didn't know that the judgment was going to come out so quick. But the women of the kids that were killed got behind the woman whose son had killed
Oh,
their kids, and,
yeah.
and so she was being loved by the very people that in today's age, if that was three guys, those two dudes might have been behind him, but that was because they were going to kick his ass because they held him responsible for what his son did. Where women were able to see beyond that and see that this was a mother who was losing her son just like they had lost their children, and they
Yeah.
were showing that compassion and love that we're always talking about as humanity that we never seem to grasp. Or I should say men never seem to grasp, because women grasp it. They grasp it in so many extraordinary ways that as a man it's mind-boggling, but they grasp it.
Hmm.
You guys grasp it, and that's the problem. Like, we're not listening. Men aren't listening to the women. And it's seen because we've got a big Bible book of a whole bunch of guys talking about this message, and yet there's no women in there talking about the message except for little sprinkles. And I wouldn't even call it sprinkles, like trace minerals. Women are trace minerals in the Bible.
Yeah.
Good book. Yes, so that's what we're talking about today, and then just how, like, and it's happening because we are shifting into this level of truth where more women are becoming empowered, and that would be the message, I guess, is as a woman it's time to step into your power
Hmm.
and be that prophet, be that power, that channel, that priestess, that goddess in human form. Like, it's time to let go of that mythology of the powerful woman. The powerful woman has to be a myth, and
Yeah.
bring it into this human form, this human being, this human experience.
Yeah, there's also something with that being burned at the stake, being persecuted, prosecuted, killed. for bringing out your spiritual gifts that a lot of people who are incarnated now have been through in other multiple lifetimes. They've gone through this. Their soul experience is, if I come out and talk about this and I share this and I am a channel or I am a prophet, there's still that DNA fear in your soul that says don't do it, it's not safe. But it's safe now. And I think that's the point, is we can do this now. We need to hear each other. We need to hear everybody's take on it so we can hear what we need for ourselves to become whole again, and to share our perspective and our language and our way, so we can have that coming back out into the world and be heard. And the balance, the masculine dominated society, the feminine dominated society, the matriarchy, patriarchy, like coming back into balance now, and a unity consciousness. I was listening to a recent Matt Kahn. It was fantastic. And that's what he's talking about. We're creating unity consciousness, which means we all have to participate as whole beings, and the separation, the contrast has been to show us that. But from here forward, it's a choice to choose that unity consciousness and honoring each other, and seeing each other as whole people and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So we started off talking about this book called the Sophia Code, which is interesting because I was led to it from a goddess yoga class by Julie Elizabeth, which was marvelous and magical. And I pulled a card from her deck for that class, and it was Sophia, and I've never connected to Sophia. So I found this book after, like, who is Sophia? I've never connected with Sophia before. And so I found this book, and I have it right here. But this is there, all of this information that used to be hidden away and secret, and all of this, it's readily available, and we have the ability to activate these parts of ourselves in this divine feminine. And this book isn't just for women, this book is for people. So you can do these activations to activate these divine, transmissions, and bring those parts of yourself into now. So
And now I'm going to step into preacher mode and preach. Like, one of the things that I love about the Sophia Code, and that you hit on was the fact that all this information is within us.
mhm,
And for me, when that's the power of meditation and connecting the source. Because
mhm.
when you connect to source, you're getting that unity consciousness. You're not getting just the filtered version
Right.
of the book. You're getting the whole book, and you're able to access all of it. And then that's when you're able to start to discern, okay, yeah, this information is helpful for me. This information, that's when it's like, okay, yeah, this feels like a truth, and at the same time, something's missing. Like for me, one of the biggest awakenings happened when it was like, okay, so King David had a concubine. He had concubine, which in my translation now meant he had a whole bunch of women that he could fuck whenever he felt like it.
Right.
That's how I took concubine.
Mhm.
But then as I meditated more on it, I said, oh, okay, so this is a masculine dominated book. If I was writing this and I didn't understand the whole story, I might see a King David that's has women uh teachers and guides,
Advisors.
advisors.
Right.
I might not be able to see that, and all I would see is a whole bunch of women, and in a lower vibrational state.
Right.
Then what would any man be doing with all these women? Oh, he must be fucking them, because what else would you do with a woman?
This
That
must be that must be all it is, right?
Yeah, so he had a concubine, and then that gets back to what I was talking about, the emasculation of the divine feminine, because now you've just reduced women to a sexual desire, as opposed to the power, the wisdom that they're providing as a divine portal. Because no matter how woo-woo you are or not, the fact is that women bring life through the womb. That's the only way to get here. It's through a woman. So there's a lot of wisdom and power because you're connected to source to bring in that life. So a wise man might say, you know what? Let me surround myself with all these women who can provide me with the knowledge and wisdom and power that I might not necessarily be able to access on my own in the divine masculine. Um,
Yeah, and
so
the
that's just one
divine.
of the that's
Yeah.
just one of the things that started to tap into the more I meditated. And even meditating on the book, if you keep reading it, the same thing's gonna happen. You're like, wait
Yeah.
a minute, when you start actually processing, like, why is this even in the book? It's almost like there's not like, and King David had a toilet in his bathroom. Like, it's not in the book. So why would you say he's got all these women to fuck? Well, what's the purpose of this in this spiritual book? And then the next paragraph or whatever you want to say, however, before after, it's like thou shalt not sleep with other women and all this other stuff. So it's like, okay, so which one is it? And I don't understand why this is in the book if they're saying you're only supposed to be married to one woman or whatever you have, and what's the concubine about? But then it's like, oh, okay, as you keep getting further and further along, it keeps getting switched and switched and switched. And that's one of the beautiful things about this internet age is we're already witness to how short of a time it takes for one word to suddenly mean something else, and
Mhm.
then for that word to just disappear and no longer have any meaning. So now it's 100, 200 years later, you're asking somebody that hasn't had access to 200 years in the past to interpret this book, and the only way they can interpret it is through the lens they're seeing through now, which
Right.
is nothing like the lens that it was actually coming to, which leads again to that emasculation of the divine feminine, in the sense that it's like, okay, yeah, well, they're only useful to make babies, so he must have had a lot of babies.
Yeah. Yeah. Is effeminization a word?
I don't know if he
Oh, yeah,
mastered.
like the emasculation or the just taking the power away from women. And it's interesting because the masculine energy is the provider protector that creates the space for the women to operate and create in to feel safe. I was just listening to a Teal Swan video recently, and she was talking about that exactly. Like, women need space to create safely, and we rely on men to create that space for us. But it's not just black and white. It's not just like, it's not just that. It's a bigger picture than that, but that's kind of the concept of it. So when we talk about women becoming more powerful and our unity consciousness and the whole gender thing, it kind of creates some weird, like, well, what about question mark, question mark? But what's true is, yes, women are the physical creators of life, and that's just what happens. So,
Yes.
yeah, it's empowering yourself to become more wholly divine in your masculine and feminine aspects, and then figuring out how to play the game and be the provider, protector, the creator, or a combination of both, so you can function in this new language, which is not quite that polarized, but it still is. But it's not, but it is. It's good stuff.
Yes.
It's good stuff. So we've got about 5 minutes till we're gonna go play the peace game. Speaking of peace and unity consciousness.
Yeah. So next week we'll be able to tell you what's going on with this piece.
Yeah, so we're going to create movement in the world around peace and balance and empowerment and embodiment and authenticity and all the good stuff. I'm excited. We're super excited. We've been waiting to get to today so we actually can figure out what's going on. So that's what we're gonna do. We will see you guys later and stay tuned for Peace Game events. We have no idea what it's going to be like. Talk to you later.